Good evening, everyone. My name is Anteria Burgess, and this evening I'd like to give you a little information about myself, including some of my family's history, mistakes that I've made which could have drastically altered my future. However, the road I am now on to assure that my future will be better than my past. I've broken my speech off into titled sections in hopes that you will find it easy to follow along. The first section of my speech is entitled The Beginning of Me. I was born 26 years ago on October the 17th. I was reared in a single parent household by my mother, as my father was nowhere around. My live in household, however, consisted of my mother, my older brother, myself, an older aunt, and two older uncles. Now, as anyone could imagine, that's a lot of people living under one roof. Now simply try to imagine all of us living in a single bedroom apartment, which was oddly located between a church and a liquor store. Now, my mom was basically the sole provider for the entire household. And as you can imagine, this sometimes proved very strenuous for her, often mentally, physically, and financially. Eventually, as we all grew older and gained our independence, my mom was able to take on more jobs to alleviate some of those pressures. And eventually, she secured a well enough job, and we were able, as our own little family, my brother, my mother, and myself, were able to move out on our own. The next portion of my speech is entitled Just Like My Mother. Now, my mother became a mother early. When she was 16, she gave birth to my older brother. By the time she was 18, I was born. Now, almost identical to my mother's footsteps, I myself became a mother early. When I was a junior in high school, I gave birth to my first child. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had two children. Now, as anyone can imagine, this situation was very hard to deal with. Instead of going out with my peers or hanging out doing senior functions, I myself was at home parenting two small children, changing diapers, making bottles, and just doing the general obligations of parenting. I wouldn't recommend the job for anyone. It helps more if young adults take time to grow. Parenting should be a well thought out decision. However, instead of allowing my two children to pose as a hindrance to my situation and to my growth, I instead decided to turn it into something positive and use my children as more reason and additional motivation to succeed. Now, the next portion is entitled A Bittersweet Transition. In May of 2002, I was scheduled to graduate high school. I was very excited about this as it was my time to transition. I was going from a student to pretty much a young adult and accepting full responsibility for myself and my two kids. However, the anticipation of graduating was short-lived. Maybe a week or so before I graduated, my uncle was murdered. This murder really took a toll on my family. I became very hurt, angry, and very bitter. The worst part of the situation was that my uncle's crime was very senseless. He was murdered for no apparent reason by a long-time childhood friend. The only comfort that my family and I received was nearly 2 years later when the accused attacker was found guilty and given a life sentence. Now, at this point, I graduated high school, but yet and still, I still have the two kids, and now a close relative has been taken away from me. All of these mistakes, all of these things going wrong could have very easily deterred my strength, deterred the path that I was on, and I could have just given up. However, I knew that pursuing my dreams, securing a good job, and receiving a college education was more so in my best interest and also in the interest of my kids. And I knew and understood that that is what my uncle wanted from me. So instead, I decided to continue on and keep pursuing my dreams because I knew that my uncle was looking down on me. And with every success that I achieved, my uncle is at heart. Now, the next portion of my speech is entitled A Woman on My Own. Nearly a year after graduating high school, it was around May of 2003, I was able to land a great job with the local sheriff's office. This was a huge accomplishment for me. This was a huge accomplishment for me as this job would provide great salary, a great benefit, great health benefits for me and my kids. I was now able to fully accept the responsibility of my children, not having to rely on any family members or anyone else for monetary support. Now the next portion of my speech is entitled, Here I Am Now. I'm 26, and although my college education has expanded way longer than I had hoped or anticipated, I have not allowed it to deteriorate. With every day, I tell myself that receiving a college education, not only am I becoming more educated, but I am overall providing a better quality of life for myself and my children. So with every day and every mistake that I make, I just decide to pick myself up and hopefully use it in a positive way to continue doing what I'm doing and becoming successful. Now, I've shared with you small aspects of my life in hopes that it will help you one day. And maybe you can use some of the things that I've just shared with you and better your quality of life. Thank you. Have a great day.